Hey guys, on today's episode we're going to talk about decanting, and I'm going to show you some low-tech simple ways to do it as well as some more high-tech options. And we're going to go ahead and test out one of those more high-tech premium ways to decant your wine. If you like winemaking videos or videos about wine, make sure to click the little subscribe button below. And if you have any comments, comment in the comments section. So you probably already know a little bit about decanting. Usually if you've got a wine, especially a younger wine, and especially a red wine, it might feel a little bit closed off when it comes out of that bottle. And after, a half hour, an hour, you'll see that wine kind of open up. You'll start to smell the fruit and the better aromas of that wine. And there's a lot of theories as to why this is improving the wine. You'll feel like the tannins are softening out, but really in that short of amount of time, there's not going to be a lot of changes happening to the tannins. So what seems to really be happening is some of the more aggressive volatile compounds will sort of evaporate off or blow off as they interact with that oxygen. So that could be, ethanol type aromas, burnt matchstick type aromas, which you might get from your sulfites. And these are just things that kind of hide the better parts of that wine. So if you don't have a decanter, no need to worry, there are some options. And one of the easiest things to do is just to pour your wine a little bit ahead of time. So pour it in a glass, say, a half hour before you're ready to drink it. And if you want to speed that up, you can give it a little swirl every once in a while. And that's generally a pretty efficient way to decant a wine, but at the same time it's a little bit tough because you really got to plan ahead if you're going to drink a glass of wine, and you might run into a situation where you have, two glasses where you've got one on deck and you've got one that you're going to be drinking. So it's something you can do, and it's easy, it's nothing fancy required. So I do that a lot of times just so I don't have to get out a decanter. I don't have to have one more thing that I have to clean or wash. Now, if you're having guests over, you're having dinner, you're going to drink a whole bottle of wine, then a more traditional decanter is nice. They look great. This is about $40 or $50, and it's glass. It's just a cool looking decanter to put on your table at the Thanksgiving dinner or whatever. And what this does is, as you pour that bottle of wine in, you get a lot of oxygen interaction as the wine runs across the side of this. So you really kind of want to pour it in such a way that the wine just runs across the glass side of the decanter. And then with a full bottle of wine, it basically tops up to about the widest point of this decanter. So there's a huge amount of surface area to interact with that wine and just kind of help evaporate off any of those more volatile aromas that might be some of the less pleasing ones. So that's a pretty cool option. You'll also see something that technically isn't a decanter, but the goal is to achieve the same thing. And this is an aerator. So you pour your wine through this, and it's got these little tubes to create this Venturi effect. So as you pour this wine through the aerator, it bubbles and it introduces a lot of oxygen to that wine very, very rapidly. And generally these work pretty good. I've been pretty happy with the results of these, but I sort of still prefer just the traditional style of decanting. It seems just like a more gentle way to, allow that wine to breathe just a little bit. Now we'll mention that you don't necessarily want to decant every single wine out there. If your wine's already 6, 7, 8 years old, it could be, it's had a lot of time in the bottle to age. There's not going to be a lot of aggressive things coming off that wine anymore, and it could actually kind of start to go downhill with a little bit too much air interaction. So if you like the wine, you think it tastes great, you're getting all this fruit, it smells great, maybe don't decant it. But if you do want to decant it, here are some options. Now this is going to be the most high-tech option, and this company, Vspin, sent me this decanter. And this is the Vspin, what do they call it? I guess they just call it the Vspin wine decanter. And it's pretty sweet, actually, but it's not cheap either. So this is about $200 to $250. Should you buy it? Well, hopefully you'll be able to make that decision after watching this video. But what it does is it takes these little magnetic, you could call them like a magnetic pill, just like a magnetic stir plate that you might have in a chemistry lab. And it's going to create like a vortex or a typhoon in that wine. And it seems kind of similar to like if you were to fill that other decanter, but you were to sit there and swirl it. So if that might take 30 minutes to decant a wine, this claims it can do it in 2 minutes or 5 minutes. And I've been using this for probably a month and a half now, and it definitely decants faster than a traditional decanter. It's hard to quantify for sure, and I know that on their box, they make some pretty aggressive claims. So they'll say 5 minutes is equivalent to 2 hours of decanting. And I think there's some truth to that. I think that 5 minutes is probably equivalent to 2 hours of decanting if you're going to open that bottle and let that bottle sit without a cork on it. It's probably actually pretty similar, but when comparing it to something like an actual normal decanter, I would guess maybe 5 minutes is equivalent to maybe 15-20 minutes. So you're probably decanting about 3 times faster in a decanter like this. Now I've got a wine here, and this is going to be probably a pretty good candidate for decanting. This is a 2017 Malbec from this company Zaccardi, and this is from Argentina. And these, I mean, this is really young. So this is honest, it's what, a year and a half old right now. So you could expect that it's going to come out a little bit aggressive. It's 14% alcohol. It's going to be probably a top candidate for decanting. So what I'll do is I'll pour this in here and I'll show you kind of how this fancy decanter works. And I've left a little bit in the bottle, and the reason I'm doing that is just so that I can compare afterwards to sort of tell you roughly how different it is, if it's really obvious or barely noticeable how different these wines are. And I'm just going to go ahead and start the Vspin here. So to start, there's just a little power button on the side. And this has a battery inside, so you really don't have to charge it, I don't know, once every probably 20 times you use the thing. And then here goes the vortex. So that was 5 minutes on level 2 of 3 for speed of the vortex. So now I'm going to call my wife down and have her pour me a glass from here and a glass from here and see if I can pick which one came from which. Can I turn around? Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. All right, so right off the bat, neither of them have any bad smells, honestly, but I would say that this one here that she labeled B definitely has just a little bit less fruit smell. So let me give it a little taste here. Just a little bit harsher. I would say I can kind of taste like the ethanol a little bit more than the fruit in this one. And honestly, I would say in this particular case, it's not nearly as extreme as some wines that we've tried. And this is a relatively good wine. I think the farther down the scale you go, if you're in like the, I don't know, $10 bottle that's a year old and it's just really kind of got some smells that maybe you don't want to taste, hopefully the idea is it'll blow those off. But my guess is going to be that A is the decanted one here. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. Yeah, so it's definitely, for only 5 minutes to even have any noticeable difference is pretty impressive, I think, with this decanter. Now I am going to show you one more thing that you can do with this, which is pretty cool. So now I've got two glasses here. And since this is kind of a magnetic stir plate, what you can do is you can put one of your magnets in your glass of wine if you don't want to pour a whole decanter, and then just stick that on here. And I'm going to turn it down a little bit because it's going to be quite an aggressive spin. And then you could just decant one single glass of wine rather than, like I said, a whole bottle. So is it worth $240 or whatever they charge for this? I think it just depends how much $240 means to you. If you're buying $200 bottles of wine, it's probably not a big investment to, help improve your drinking experience. Or if you've got a restaurant and you want some sort of wow factor to impress your customers, it might be worth trying to get a handful of these little Vspin style wine aerators. Hopefully this helped you out for learning some new ways to decant and deciding if this is something maybe you're interested in. I'll put links to everything I have here in the description if you're interested in buying any of this. And thanks for watching.